Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of What If Civilization Started Over. We are now on episode 22 of the series, and in the last episode we saw the Treaty of Taiwan occur. And all across the world we saw the treaty for World War One, which was placed in Taiwan, happen, and make sure to go watch that episode if you want a deeper meaning to this treaty. Red went from being a big superpower country to very, very small, even landlocked actually. Rome went to being really, really big to very, very small. France went to being kind of small to very, very big. They got a lot more. Also, there's a bit more that I forgot from the treaty last time. Anyway, let's get straight into the video. We are now in the post-war era, or the Great Depression era. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but, it's both of those. So the first thing that I'm going to do is fix my mistake from last video where I forgot to finish up the peace treaty. There was one more thing, which was France in South America, and then also one more thing that I want to clear up. So let's do France and South America really quickly. So here we are. France is going to end up, whoa, oops. France gets all of this. My bad, guys. So here is France's new stuff, and I actually have to draw this in a little bit. So here, they have their own thing in South America. Isn't that cool? And anyway, we're going to actually talk about the peace treaty. So, at the very end, basically, there are two countries mainly that fell apart, or that got, split into a bunch of pieces. Red was one of them, and Rome was one of them. Rome was, in the peace treaty, they were split like that. Red, however, was not split like this. Here, let me show you something. Since red and blue fell apart, and there was like a separate peace treaty, I kind of explained that terribly. Here's an easier way to see it. I have an ideology map. So for every single country that was kicked out, I mean, like in the treaty, they were made into an actual country. In the treaty, they were turned into a flawed democracy. And here you could see the flawed democracy is a light blue. So over here, every single light blue country was actually supposed to come out. So that's Qatar, that's this Persian country, that is red, of course, that's Mesopotamia line. But then all the other ones ended up splitting away. So pink over here, fascists. Orange, they were democratic, but then maroon ended up breaking away, and this was the maroon side of them. This is authoritarian instead of democratic. This actually might be authoritarian, but yeah, that's basically what you can see. Brown, yeah, no, this is authoritarian. Brown is fascist. This other color right here, this maroonish color, is authoritarian, and this is a pretty easy way to see stuff. About the splitting of Spain, there was the authoritarian. Wait, this is fascist. These colors are too alike. Hold on. This is authoritarian. Yeah. The authoritarian party of Spain and the monarchist party of Spain. This monarchist is actually the original, but I'm just going to keep it like this because it looks better. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. And let's get straight into the episode. So, everyone's kind of just frozen right now. Red and blue have just fallen apart. Rome is not here anymore, and we're in a Great Depression because the two strongest countries and one of the, would-be strongest country has just fallen apart. Russia, they're still here. India, they're still here, but everywhere else, these guys are falling apart. So, these two had the greatest economies in the world, and now they're not really even here anymore. So, yeah, the world is in its first ever Great Depression. The Hawaiians are literally just pointing and staring. They're like really, really pissed about this because they've been pushing for independence for so long. Anyway, we're going to the east, and we're going to see the first, problem when it comes to, the Great Depression, and that is Gold Team over here. Gold Team, I don't think they've done anything. They might have taken over one country, but yeah, they're going to, whoa, what the heck? I just went into another map. They're going to go into civil war. Let me turn off the ideologies. Okay, so this is the episode 10 map here. As you can see, this gold country, it never ended up taking over any countries. I think it actually just expanded. Yeah, no, all it did was expand. So this is going to be a brand new country popping out that we're going to see. And everything's really glitchy right now. Alright, so a new country will be breaking out, or attempt to break out. And here they start, not on the border of any country, just, in general starting. This is odd. Why is there such a weird province map? Oh, I turned on regions, not provinces. Oops, I turned on the wrong thing. Okay, so yeah, they're kind of just residing in this little province here. They haven't really touched anything. And the government is fairly worried about this happening here. They have caught one major city, and they've actually entered into the second province. And it's time that the gold country tries to start to fight back, and luckily they do get rid of this small group up here. Now here's the thing about the gold country. Let's check out the ethnicity map really quickly. Here's the gold team. You see how diverse it is? 1, two, three, and four different religions, or not religions, ethnicities. One ethnicity is a separate Indian ethnicity. It's a different type of Indian ethnicity. The main one, which is Green's ethnicity, it's in the capital and everything. There's also another one up here. I can't tell what it is. Yet another Indian ethnicity, and then there's the Tibetan ethnicity. And now listen, the Tibetans believe that they should have their own ethnicity here. The Greens believe that they should be able to rule over all the land with their ethnicity, and the Indians don't really care. So that is why these Indians are breaking away. The ethnic Indians are breaking away, and this is why they're trying to break away. So here we are as they kind of just almost reach up to the border of India, or they at least attempt to. Luckily, there isn't any Himalayas that they've reached yet. That kind of runs along like this, so they haven't really kind of actually no, it runs along like this. So they're basically on the border of the Himalayas, which they do in fact run along, and they grab this major city here, and then they kind of crash down to the border of India. Now the gold team will try to circle around and grab over here, and that attempt goes pretty well. They are able to push back just a little bit. And at this point, the base of operations for this maroon team is right here in this major city because it has the natural defense of the Himalayas running along kind of like that. They make a push to get across the Himalayas, which goes pretty successfully. They make it all the way across with, some extra newish technology from a certain country. Take a guess, take a guess as to which country it is. They're going to actually attack into the gold team soon, so it's definitely one of the bordering countries. But they got new technology, like, tanks and stuff. We're at almost World War II technology at this point. Almost, yeah, almost World War II. Not really, kind of like just behind it, but they've capitulated this entire province right here, and now they're kind of working on attacking the rest of this province. Luckily, they split it in two, and this kind of small group that just falls. At this point, this entire province has fallen apart, and now this outside power will come in to attack this gold team to try and get the lands that they wanted. Tibet will push into the gold team. That's right, Tibet is the one to attack. They move on in and they start attacking, and luckily they don't have any Himalayas here to deal with. And this gold team is now worried, very, very worried, because a second breakaway has started up here in the north, and this is, as you can tell, the same breakaway. Up here in the north, there's also this same Indian ethnicity right here. There's just a little bit of it though, kind of only runs along like that kind of. And they are working hard to, kind of group up all the people that they need, which they have succeeded at. So right now we are witnessing a kind of ethnic collapse of the country. Green is kind of just watching. Pink here, they're not able to really do anything. Tibet, they keep on moving in. That's right. The Tibetans are pretty excited about being able to capture their full ethnicity, which, by the way, they are Vietnamese. If you remember, there was that like illegitimacy crisis that happened in Vietnam, and the illegitimate son and his followers went up and made a country in Tibet, which quickly grew because he had a lot of followers. Anyway, they've reached the edge of this province and they've kind of spilled into the next. And at this point, they're barely fighting back the gold team just because it's too hard to. And they've pushed back against the Tibetans over here a little bit in the east, and they haven't really pushed back at all over here. They push back just a little bit, kind of like that, but it collapses eventually. And this maroon will keep pushing further north. As they go further north, they attack kind of around the edge of the country, and Green has their border filled with, troops to make sure that these guys don't spill in and start attacking them. Because they don't really know how hostile they are. It's kind of ironic because Green's pretty hostile. But they capture this entire province over here, and they start spilling into the next one as they reach out for this major city, which hasn't been captured yet. The Tibetans make a counter-offensive over here as they recapture this entire province again. They get even more than they had just a little bit ago. And just like that, they have captured this entire province. Which then they move into the next one and capture this major city. And the Indians over here will reach down to grab at this guy. And I've actually messed up the occupational zones a little bit because I was just, free scrolling. Yeah, but anyway, the Tibetans made another offensive, and this entire province is pretty much screwed as they are approaching the capital, actually. They're moving up north over here as they're trying to group up as many forces at the edge of this province to make a spearhead towards the capital. Over here, this maroon thing that captures this major city, and they start grouping up all around here to try and make a spearhead towards the capital, which is pretty far ways away, but they're still going to attempt it. They start sending troops up north here, and they make an encirclement, which eventually just falls. This thing over here that just starts sweeping out westward as they try to make an attempt to, make a spearhead towards the capital. And these guys are pretty freaking scared. So what are they going to do? They're going to do the only right thing, and that is to surrender, which pretty smart idea. So they surrender to the Tibetans and to the Indians, and let's take a look at this peace treaty. So in this final peace treaty, the new borders will look like this, with this new Maroon country coming out. This new Indian country also appears like this, and then this Tibetan country gets all of this, making the new borders look very, very nice, I guess. And this guy is just here. But with this happening, they also end up falling apart. So that's right. Another country will pop up, and that is over here. And pretty much immediately, they will surrender over to this country. Which they will accept because they just want their independence, and they'll have to drop a new province. But they immediately surrender just because of the fact that they can't really, have another thing happen. Another breakaway isn't really nice. So when this new country here gets released, they turn into this, and dear God, I hate this so much. If I could, I would just, do that, but we can't, we had to have some bad borders sometimes, and Gold, you're really helping us with that. But here is where their capital province will be. Boom, shakalaka. Then for you, little maroonish team, your capital will be right here, and for this gray team, your capital will be right here. And that is the first part of the episode complete, which is Gold Team's falling apart. So, that's pretty sad for you, Gold Team. Moving just a little bit further south, we have West Bangladesh and East Bangladesh, and, well, East Bangladesh, you're fascist, and West Bangladesh is democratic. Left-leaning countries usually support the West, and right-leaning countries usually support the East. East Bangladesh broke away from West Bangladesh maybe episode 12, I think. And ever since then, there's been very, very hostile relations here. They were actually very close to each joining, opposite sides of the war. West Bangladesh was going to join, Rome's country, and then East Bangladesh was going to join Reds, which would have been pretty cool, but they didn't end up doing it just because the tensions didn't boil over that much. But yeah, they're going to go to war. So here we are, East Bangladesh moving into West Bangladesh first. West Bangladesh moving into East Bangladesh first, my bad. But here we are with just a little bit of this, and they're defending very, very well over here in this general area, so that way they don't reach down to the capital. But it's a bit odd, but they're pretty aggressive, and you're supposed to, get rid of this offensive in the country before you start your own offensive, but they're going to start their own offensive. They're actually very close to the Himalayan mountains. But luckily they have a bit of that technology from a bit of a right-leaning country. Are they right-leaning? Hold on. Yeah, they're right-leaning. They're a dictatorship. Oh, I gotta update this over here. But yeah, these guys are right-leaning. They don't even have a ideology. They're just a dictatorship. But yeah, anyway, this major city up here is captured, and that's about it. In the war, after this, nothing really happens, and they decide to sign peace, which is, the countries that were sweating, Green's ally, Orange, they're both fascist. Yeah, they just breathe a sigh of relief. Same with India, they're friends with, West Bangladesh. But let's take a look at this peace treaty. So, inside of this peace treaty, we have a bit of a, ugly stuff happen. So, East Bangladesh gets barely anything, pretty much. They don't get a lot, they just get this. And then what? Wait, I'm getting them mixed up. Oh my god. West Bangladesh gets that, and East Bangladesh gets this. And since they didn't really have, enough, fighting, they didn't really do enough, to be able to get this whole entire province right here, they were able to, luckily for them, be able to make a new province and take this major city, making a new exclave for them. And now we have a bit of some border gore going on here. And moving out east, we have a very, very important thing happening. Now, I wasn't really on South China. I haven't talked about South China ever, I think. But let's talk about this during World War One, or, kind of before and during World War One and until now. They have opened up trading with, countries all around the world, except for major powers. So, nothing with China, nothing with Korea, nothing with green or India or red or west or any Bangladesh, or no, just West Bangladesh, not East Bangladesh. East Bangladesh is kind of in poverty. Nothing with Vietnam, or very little with Vietnam. Nothing with Blue. They opened with France. They didn't open with Germany. Basically, with the rising tensions, they decided to open up trading with countries that they think would be strong if these tensions were to boil over, which luckily they did do very well with that. However, they didn't do so well. They could have opened up trading with Germany. That would have been nice because then they would have gotten a lot. They could have not opened up trading with Ireland, but they did open up with trading with Ireland. And now look at this. Ireland got pretty screwed. Like, they lost half their colony. Um, but anyway, right now they're actually stronger than China. That's right, they are stronger than China. That is because China is like very, very tradey with all of the kind of central powers. So that's right, Russia, Ireland, France, Germany, the Norwegian country, red especially, blue especially, India especially, and because of that, they are now kind of they're not doing so good. They're not able to buy a lot of supplies, while South China is, and South China is going to take this opportunity. They are going to war with China. So, for the first time ever, South China is stronger than China, and South China is going to go to war with China. They are going to move into this little weird panhandle that China has and take over some major cities here. They start scooching their way up, and using their limited navy, they land inside of Taiwan and start attacking here. They don't have much of a breakthrough. They reach up to grab these major cities, and they are succeeding. It's very, very odd to see a small country like this succeeding against a big country like China. They start a big front out west over here, kind of just stretching across their entire country's borders. And now, just like that, they don't have any front lines along their border anymore. Inside of China, they take over all of Taiwan. Well, most of Taiwan. They leave the south for now. And they take over the rest of Taiwan, and this is the very first time where China's like, maybe I should surrender. But they don't surrender just yet because, well, South China isn't done. Well, that's not why they didn't surrender. They think that South China is weaker than them. Speaking of them being weaker, I'm gonna do a ranking after this. But after this, after they reach up to this major city, they will finally decide to surrender, and good for them because they would have kept going to the capital. And let's take a look at this peace treaty. So here's what the peace treaty looks like. South China expands a lot. They take over all of this, so they go from here to here, and then they also take over Taiwan. China is extremely embarrassed. They're not done. They're not screwed or anything. They're just embarrassed. They even lost a bit of their metropolitan, or their big hub of cities. Which, by the way, they have a lot of cities. I think too many. But yeah, South China, they're doing pretty good right now. They're joyous, very joyous. But let's do a power ranking of the world because this is a very different world than it just was. Red and Rome were at the top before World War One, and now they're not at they're not even in the top 10. I don't think. But let's take a look. Okay, so power rankings. Very simple. Very, very obvious, I think. Maybe not obvious, actually. But number one is France. That's right. The French are very, very powerful right now. As you can see, they've inherited a lot of land all around the world, even, places down here. Pretty much everywhere, it's just France. They're very active militarily, economically. They're even, they're trading with Korea so much, so you're gonna actually see it in a little bit. Some stuff about it, I think. I don't know. Number two, that is also very simple, is Germany. Maybe not so simple, Russia is number three, I think. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, Russia's number three. These two are pretty much interchangeable. They're pretty close, Russia and Germany. But, in the long run, Germany is stronger than Russia. Number four, that would go to, number four is African Union. So that's the AU. The African Union, they're very, very strong after inheriting a lot of land in the Iberian Peninsula. They're getting, gold. Pretty much gold, silver, maybe, actually. I don't remember what's there. Number five is India. India, they're pretty powerful. They got a puppet state and everything. They even got some stuff in the UAE Peninsula, which is very fertile after it got flooded. Number six, what comes after India is, oh my god. Number six is green. This is the green in the Middle East. This green, very, very strong. Not very, very strong, but, strong in general. After green, this would go to South China. So, yep, as you can see, South China is in fact stronger than China. They were probably maybe at 8 before they just inherited all this land. and at 8 is West Bangladesh. So that's pretty cool. I'm not gonna do top 10. I'm gonna do top 15. So pay attention. Number 9, Korea, which is actually not just Korea. It is the NJKU, North Japanese and Korean Union. I don't know what it's called. JK Union. Just kidding, it's a union. It's probably just the Korean Union. Not gonna lie, probably just that. That's the name I'd give it. 10, that would go to China. So yeah, there's a 3-spot difference between South China and China. 11 would go to none other than Poland. So they were probably at like 9, 10-ish, but after losing their stuff in Africa, they've gone down. 12 would go to none other than East Bangladesh. I might be forgetting someone, actually. If I am, I'm sorry. But yeah, East Bangladesh is there. 13 would go to Ireland. 14 would go to Vietnam. And finally, 15 would go to Blue. Blue would definitely be higher, but since they collapsed, they're not any higher than 15. And yeah, take a look at this. This is the power rankings as of episode 22. And that is it. So, hope you guys liked that power ranking. And yeah, so moving on from power rankings. Okay, so we're going to talk about red and blue. I kind of want to explain this a little bit better. So when red and blue collapsed, there was 2 things that made them collapse. First of all, just blue inheriting this much land that spat out 3 new countries. Green was going to be a part of red. If these countries hadn't collapsed, let me show you guys what it would look like. Here, this is what it would look like if they hadn't have collapsed. So this is what these countries would have looked like. As you can see, still very big, very relevant. But no, that's not what it looked like. Instead, it looks like this, which is not too much fun. But now, I think it's time that we talk about the alliances because they dissolved, I promise you. Economic alliances. Let's take a look at how outdated these are because I haven't really touched them. Oh, no, this still exists apparently between Korea and China. I'm going to say that it's disbanded at this point. They aren't really allies anymore. What else is there? I think that's it. But, dear God, there's military alliances. So, the only military alliances I see are the 2 that were in the World War. And yep, both, or all of them has disbanded. Don't worry. But just because they disbanded doesn't mean that there aren't any. Never mind, there's only one. And it's not even an economic alliance, not a military alliance. So, here we are. And it's 2 actually kind of unlikely allies right here. It is maroon and pink. That's right. Maroon and pink, 2 very unlikely allies. But in the new world differences, they are economically paired. Now, there are some other economic alliances. Let me check my notes. Like this one right here, between this maroon and this gray. These 2, they're pretty close. Are there any more? I don't think so. Oh, nope, there's one more. And this one, in my opinion, is the most exciting. France and Germany are in an economic alliance together. But otherwise, there are no economic alliances. Right now, no one really likes Rome, and no one really likes red, so they're not in any economic alliances. And otherwise, yeah, that's about it. There's nothing. Also, I think I'm going to stop calling Mesopotamian lime. I'm going to stop calling Mesopotamian lime, because I think I'm just going to call them Eastern Mediterranean Empire, the EME. So here's the new EME for you. Moving on, Rome. You're gonna do something. That's right. This is multiple years after the war at this point, so don't worry, guys. This isn't like right after the war. We're pretty far down the line, but Rome is going to invade into a country. Can you guys guess which country it is? It's none other than Albania. They're going to capture the capital of Albania, but Albania is stronger than Rome right now. That's right. Albania pushes back against Rome, and Rome will go to peace. However, there's another country out here that doesn't really like Albania, and it's Orange. Now, Orange isn't going to go to war, but Orange is stronger than Albania, meaning Orange is stronger than Albania. Albania is stronger than Rome, meaning Orange is also stronger than Rome. So, to protect them, Albania is going to unite with Greece. These 2 are actually pretty close friends. Originally, they were going to end up being one country, but the It changed last minute to make it even harder for Rome to try and grab more countries. Meaning, yes, this is a very unstable area because this was made in spite of Rome, not in people. So Albania wouldn't be here if it weren't to spite Rome. A bit odd, right? Anyway, yeah, Greece is here, and you may have noticed that I haven't erased the capital yet. That's because there's going to be two capitals in this country. That's pretty cool. So now there's the Greek Albanian Union. I'm probably just going to keep calling them Greece. So another breakaway is going to happen, and this time it's going to be none other than Hawaii. I mean, who wasn't expecting it? Here we are. Hawaii is going to break away. Oh God, I'm not on the right layer. They're going to break away, and they're going to first break away in this island, and then they're going to inch their way up. Korea is going to find this to be very hard to, invade into. Their navy is around it, but it's very rough waters right now in this time of year. But this isn't the only breakaway that they're dealing with. They're also dealing with a breakaway in northern Manchuria. So in northern Manchuria, this breakaway has formed, and they have to fight back against this one. They've even split Sakhalin, I think, in two. But they are gaining ground and fast. Now let's check back on this thing. Korea is which number are they? I can't find them. Ah, they're number 9. So yeah, they're stronger than this, obviously. Um, it's just they weren't expecting Northern Manchuria to break away. They were, however, expecting Hawaii to break away. And that is why they have been able to land in Hawaii. This is not the right color. They have been able to land inside of Hawaii. With them landing in Hawaii, this is going to lose the morale of no one. That's right. No one loses morale in Hawaii. This is how much they have wanted to break away. In fact, this entire orange country here, let's check the ethnicity map. Boom, it's all Koreans. That's right, in the ethnicity map, we could see that these guys are all Korean, and that's for a very, very specific reason. The Koreans from Hawaii have moved here to try and get to a new land, and Hawaii just really is pushing for independence. But yeah, sadly for Hawaii, India, or oh my god, whatever country this is, jeez, Korea is stronger than Hawaii, and the first island falls, which leads to making the rest of this easy. And just like that, Hawaii is unliberated. Moving on, being able to focus here, they take back Sakhalin, all of it, and then they start pushing up against the coast here, which is probably the best thing that they could do. Then they push back over here in the farmland area-ish, and now it is split in two. So with this, the morale of these people have been lost. Obviously, they don't have as much morale as the Hawaiians do, but they do still have morale. But at this point, that morale is lost, and eventually they surrender to the Koreans and lose their gain of independence. However, that reachingness of independence is still in this northern Manchurian area. Moving away, France. They were trading. They're trading with India, right? They're pretty strong. So since it's kind of just a toxic area of just everywhere in the Mediterranean, I mean, look at all these new countries. It's pretty toxic. They go around Africa a lot nowadays, especially since they also trade with South Africa. They also trade with the Norwegians here. So yeah, they just go around Africa a lot. So these guys, they were going here, they were going down, they were going around, they stop here, they stop here in Norway. And then they go from Norway into here, and then they start going toward India. However, they don't really go the right way, and they kind of get into a shipwreck or whatever, and they somehow find an island. Now, mind you, this is the first time a discovery has been made since I said that there was no more discovering left. So, they find it. And what do they do once they find it? Nothing other than taking it over. Because if you find an island, what are you going to do with it? Not take it over? Like, see how dumb that sounds? So now they own this island, which I guess it wasn't really important to point that out, but you gotta just mention it at least. Moving down, we have another break split, and this is in Java. Java hasn't done anything since, like, the entire series. Java isn't really affected by the Great Depression because they don't really trade with anything but Vietnam and Laos. But they're gonna still have a breakaway in the end, and a part of the country breaks away, specifically this western side. Mind you, there's a dictatorship in this country. And quickly to quote unquote make sure to free the people of the West from the dictatorship, Vietnam will go in and also, they're saying this to, make it sound like they're freeing Java from this breakaway. So they're basically giving two-part propaganda saying, to Java, we're going to free you guys from your rebellion, and they're saying to these people, we're going to free you from Java. So they move in, take over this area, and let's take a look at this peace treaty. Vietnam will take over the west half of Java. Pretty crazy. So just like that, the Java Island is split in two, and there's going to be another split away just northwest, and northwest of here is, oh, India. Are you okay? South India breaks away. That's not good. Yeah, this place, these guys are basically the conservatives. This is where the capital used to be, but then there's the flood. So these guys, they call themselves the conservatives. This is like a conservative party of India, and they're breaking away. And boy, do they have a lot of manpower, because this is a very populated area that is breaking away, and it's a very big political party that is just popular in this region. And they might be being what? That doesn't make sense. They might be being funded by a different country. Wink, wink, cough, cough. This Eastern Bangladesh just like appeared on my screen. My bad, guys. But they are fast inching. They're very fastly inching up, and quickly, India will surrender. That's right. I think maybe the first time in history India surrenders to a country. And let's take a look at this peace treaty. So this country will break away and take all of this land. Notice how this is still here. That's because they begged. India begged. They pleaded to be able to keep this area. They even offered to give money to this new country here, and they finally accepted, letting them keep this here. And now they're making a lot of money, but India probably won't be able to keep hold of this for long, because they might use this money to buy it off of India later on. And also, India isn't really even able to pay stuff. They're in, like, Great Depression right now. Anyway, I'm going to change their color because it's awfully close to the Bangladesh's over here. I might do a yellow. I haven't done any yellows because, like, I'm not able to see yellow. Maybe instead of a yellow, I could do a dark yellow. So maybe instead of that, I could do this. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So the new capital of this region will be none other than right here, and that's not good for them, because they would probably, since they're conservative, they would have it where the capital used to be. But life doesn't always work out the way you want it to, huh? South India. But moving on, we are going into Venezuela. Yeah, that's right, Venezuela. They're going to do something, and no, they're not going to lose land. Never mind. They're going to invade into Spain. I don't know what ideas they've been getting in their heads, but they're gonna invade. They're not even able to invade over here. What am I doing? Yeah, they're gonna invade up here. Um, and it's gonna go pretty well for a little bit. They're gonna make the Spanish pretty scared because they reach all the way up here. But then they lock in and they push back, and they push back all the way to here, and then they get kicked all the way out, and then they start pushing into Venezuela. This isn't looking too good for Venezuela here. So luckily Venezuela will surrender because they're smarter than, some other countries. I don't know which country to point at, but they're smarter than other countries, let's just say that. Sadly, this isn't really going to work out the way I think it could. Yeah, I think we need to make new provinces. Or we don't, maybe. Hold on. Will this work? Does that look right? I mean, it looks partially right. This top part doesn't look right. I'll make a new province here. There we go. That's nice. So in the final peace treaty, Venezuela will go from what it used to look like to this, and that's not good. And now they're kind of in debt a little bit. So what are they gonna do? Well, you see these islands here. It may look like that I just forgot to paint them, but no. The African Union, when they gave up their colony of Venezuela, they kept these islands right here, which they had owned. And they're actually going to get some more land. They're going to buy Tobago and Tobago because, well, they can afford it, so they're going to buy it. And that is just, let them, like Venezuela sells that because they need some money after losing a lot of land over here. So they sell Tobago and Tobago. Now that's a nice, little vacation spot for the African Unions. I don't think that's a name. But yeah, now this is African Union. What the heck? Okay, moving up north, we have the France and Korean trade boom, which I said was happening. It's like not at that point in my notes. So the French and the Koreans are trading like a lot over here. They weren't friends like 5-ish episodes ago. They had really bad wars, but now they agree on what's happening here, and they have crazy trade booming, and so much so to a point that French citizens are trading into Korea, and then they end up staying in Korea and living there. So the French are losing citizens right now. So this doesn't really, affect the map at all, but I just wanted to point it out that the French are losing citizens because of how much they're trading with Korea. That's right. Anyway, now we move over to the, whatever this country's called, Dark Blue. And they're going to do some military action. I know they just formed, like last episode, but they're going to do some military action. They're going to move into Scotland right here, South Scotland. I know this isn't actually Scotland, but, like, in the technical sense of the series, this is South Scotland. They're gonna move here, and South Scotland, not having enough money to actually fight back, they're gonna go, whoa, 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 we surrender. And now let's take a look at this peace treaty, which they will take over all of this, turning them into whatever they were into this. Meaning now South Scotland is very small. However, they make a negotiation, and South Scotland gets the Isle of Man. So lucky them. Now it's time for Russia to do something, and they're gonna do something that they've already done. They're gonna invade into this state, the refugee state, and they're gonna take some land. They're gonna take a bit of this. They're going to say that, hey, we're just gonna take this, and now we're done. We're gonna also take away your water, and they're gonna go, okay, well, we surrender. You can take what you want. And now let's take a look at this peace treaty. So, in the final peace treaty, it ends up looking like this, and now they are pretty squeezed. Their capital is right there, and they're actually going to move it, which is pretty smart for them. So their capital moves from here to here. Oh, right over to here. And that is the end of the episode. So, while it may be the end of the First World War, that does not mean that the war is over. In this episode, we've seen many, many civil wars, ranging from gold to Java to India. And not just civil wars, we've even seen actual wars. Rome and Albania, dark blue in South Scotland, Venezuela and Spain. We also saw breakaways in the Korean Union, a war between China and South China, a war between East and West Bangladesh, and even more. But that is the end of episode 22. I hope you guys have been liking it so far. After the World War, there's a few more episodes in this era, which is the post-war era or the Great Depression era. But yeah, I don't know. I'm recording this the day after episode 22. It's not even out. Episode 21. Episode 21 isn't even out yet. I'm just recording episode 22 because I have free time. I'm on spring break right now, so I honestly might record episode 24 tomorrow or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that way you can know when I drop new videos. Make sure to comment down any ideas or things you want to see it below. And until next time, see ya.